Everyone, it is Tarot Tuesday and I'm here with a video response to Katie Flowers about Nice Wash decks. Now, I know she did not originate this. She was doing a video response to someone else, to a thread that was on a Facebook group, a tarot group about Nice Wash decks. So she's not the originator of that term or anything, but she did make a video about it, and I thought I would throw my 2 cents in, whatever they may be worth, to the pot. So what had happened was on a Facebook group, somebody had talked about decks that were nice washed, as in they were made to be, I guess, more palatable to certain people. They had taken away maybe some of the what people considered darker aspects or harshness, and some people were not okay with this, I guess. And what had kind of come up was that some people had felt that, you know, if you, I guess that they didn't like the nice washed decks. So I'm just giving my opinion. I'm not saying opinion is right or wrong. It's just my opinion on things. I think, first of all, the term nice washed is that's up to someone's personal opinion. What one person considers nice washed, somebody else isn't going to consider that. For example, somebody has said that they considered the Wild Unknown Tarot to be nice washed, and I don't personally have that deck, but I've seen it lots, you know, on Instagram and YouTube and stuff, and I would never consider that a nice washed deck. If you haven't seen it, go look it up. It's a deck that very heavily focuses on animals, and I think it definitely does have a darker aspect to it, or it can. But I could see somebody else looking at it and saying, oh, you know, maybe this is nice washed because it's got animals on it. But I think if you have interacted with that deck at all, you probably wouldn't feel that. But, you know, maybe you would. I don't know, because I haven't worked with the deck. But I thought that was a strange example to give. Now, I do have some decks that were commonly considered to be nice washed. Of course, we have the Doreen Virtue Angel cards here. And I'll try to find an example of what I mean, because it's all like angels. Let's see, like the death was changed to release. I think the devil was changed to temptation. The tower is life experience. And some people argue that when you change those names, you are changing the deck. Now, I think that we live in an era where it's pretty common that people personalize tarot decks, or artists that make decks. You know, it's not uncommon for people to break free from the Rider-Waite or the Thoth or the Marseille system and kind of put their own twist on it. And so I don't really have an issue with this. I think that, you know, even though this says life experience, if you read the little thing below, it says a significant life event, a powerful revelation that leads to change, time to spread your wings, which, I mean, is, I guess, it's a simplistic interpretation of tarot, but it's still an interpretation of the tower. The tower is about a big life event, something that really shakes you up. So I don't really have an issue with this. I think that everyone's going to put their own spin on things, and there's so many tarot decks out there now, which I think is awesome, by the way, that people can really find one that speaks to them. And so while this may not speak to everybody, it's going to speak to some people. And that's okay. I think that, you know, I think personally everybody should have a tarot deck, but that's just my opinion. But you have to find something that works for you. And for some people, there's a lot of reasons why someone might want a deck that's a little more nice wash, so to speak. Ooh, look at that, the gilding is changing the lighting. Woohoo! Anyway, side note. You know, there's lots of reasons why someone might want a deck that somebody else might consider more nice washed. And one of the reasons is, and I thought Katie did a great example with this, and you know, you can watch her video for her own personal story, but if somebody's going through a really difficult time, like a really big difficult time, you know, you never know what someone's going through. They could be recovering from an illness. They could be going through a chronic illness. They could be going through, you know, a depression. They could be going through a crisis where something that's really harsh or something that has a darker side may not be for them. They don't need that. They need something that's a little softer and gentler at that time. And so for them, something that somebody else might go, ugh, that's like nice washed candy, I can't even look at that, might be exactly what they need in that moment. And I don't think other people get to judge that. The other thing I think that may lead someone to go towards a deck that's a little bit, sort of nicer and softer is they may be afraid of the tarot. I mean, you watch horror movies and ghost shows, whatever, and there's people who say all sorts of weird stuff about the tarot. So if you've been exposed to these or some very conservative religious ideas, you might be afraid of the tarot. You might have heard, oh, you're going to open up a portal to the devil or some crazy thing like that. And so you might be like kind of cautious about it, even if you're interested in tarot. So approaching something like an angel tarot or like this one, which is like the guardian angel tarot, may feel a lot safer to you, and help people to really, approach the tarot and find out like, oh, it's just a deck of cards. Like it's not the devil. And maybe that leads them to go get other decks. But for their first deck, maybe this is what they need to get comfortable with it. And I don't think that, it's kind of to me like, when someone's afraid of swimming, throw them in the deep end. You put them in the shallow end. I'm not saying these are shallow. I actually do really like this deck. I find it to be very sweet. This is one of my Christmas decks because it just has a lovely, it makes me think of old Victorian cards. I don't care for how much space the writing takes up, but I think for a beginner's deck, I think this would be a really nice deck, and I think it's quite lovely. And you know what? It's different things speak to different people, and different things are going to speak to you at different times of your life, different seasons, all that stuff. So, and when you're reading for clients, not everyone's going to want like Tarot the Vampires. They might need something that's a little more gentle or a little bit more up their alley aesthetically. You can read just as well with these tarot decks as you can with the Marielle, for example. They, they both have their own pluses and minuses, but they're both tarot decks, and they both can get the job done. That's for sure. The other deck that came up that I have that was considered to be nice washed is the Good Tarot. I really like this deck. I used it last year as my daily draw deck, and I really liked it for that. I think the artwork on this is stunning, and I'm totally not a computer manipulation fan, like art fan kind of thing, but this one's stunning. Like, it's just beautiful and gorgeous. And yeah, she did change some of the meanings here. Or the names, I shouldn't say. The meanings aren't changed. I'm trying to think of an example here. Okay, the devil, we have temptation. But that is an interpretation of the devil card, is temptation. So I don't see anything wrong with this. I think this is a beautiful deck. So the bottom line is, I think, is you have to find what works for you. If this stuff doesn't work for you, these kind of decks, that's fine. Don't work with them. Don't buy them, That's cool. There's lots of decks that don't appeal to my taste, but that doesn't mean I'm against them. I just am like, it's not for me. Like, for example, the Wild Unknown, people love that deck. It's not for me. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not my thing. And if somebody is using these decks, I think that, especially if somebody's new to tarot, maybe this helps them, like I said, get into it. If somebody comes along and says to them, oh, that's nice wash, and you should be doing that, you might be putting somebody off who's just getting into tarot and just getting used to it. And then they are like, oh, those snobby tarot people are telling me that, these tarot decks aren't real. So I think it's a personal thing. If you don't like those decks, it's fine. Don't read with them. But, don't take the joy away from others who do like reading with them. Or that feel more comfortable reading those kinds of decks. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a big world. There's lots of tarot decks. There's lots of decks for, I think it's nice that there's like a deck for everyone now, which is pretty awesome. So I think that's really cool. So that's just my 2 cents. What do you think? What do you think of nice wash decks? Into them, not into them? Do you not care? Let me know. This conversation is just my opinion. Like and subscribe. I'll talk to y'all next time.